Mazuma TV back in the building, man. What's going on, y'all? Shout out to Mazuma Nation. Shout out to the Mazuma Mob. We in the building as always, man. I hope everybody's having a blessed, beautiful, positive, productive day. On my way to go get it as always, man. I hope y'all doing the same, man. On the road to 2K. We about to crack that 1,500 mark, man. We right there. We might get it by the end of today. You know what I'm saying, man? Shout out to the nation. Shout out to the mob for making that possible. You know what I'm saying? Check out MazumaMerch.com, man. I'm about to put up another promo code once I release this new merch that I got on the way, man. You know what I'm saying? Get the merch, man. Get you a sticker, get you a hoodie for this cold weather. The crew necks, the t-shirts, long sleeve tees. It's all available on MazumaMerch.com, man. I appreciate everybody that's been purchasing. You know what I mean? But I want to get into something. I want to get into a topic that I feel like people talking about, but not really trying to solidify yet or coming to an understanding with. You know what I'm saying? Now, what do I mean? I seen this article on Boxing Scene, man. Shout out to Boxing Scene for keeping me informed of what's going on in the boxing world. And I believe they did an interview with Teofimo, Lopez's dad. You know what I mean? Real controversial guy, man. Very outspoken. They call him Nostradamus or whatever because of how the way he predicted, how the way his son's career is going and things of that nature. He says that his son is the number one 140-pound fighter in the world. You know what I'm saying? Now, Teofimo is one of the champions at 140 pounds. I believe he has the WBO title, you know what I mean, after defeating Josh Taylor, you know what I mean, in one of his best performances as of lately. You know what I'm saying? Teofimo's best performances, in my honest opinion, were Richard Comey, Vasyl Lomachenko, and Josh Taylor, you know what I mean? In that order. You know what I mean? That's just my opinion. You know what I mean? And he believes that his son is the number one 140-pound fighter in the world. Now, of course, he's biased. That's his son. You know what I mean? But what I really want to get into is Teofimo really the number one 140-pound fighter in the world? Now, I got a different take on this in comparison to a lot of dudes because there's going to be some people that say, yeah, Teofimo Lopez is the number one 140-pound fighter because he beat the man. Who was the man? Josh Taylor, who was the last undisputed 140-pound fighter in the world. There's obviously guys who disagree with that. A lot of people feel like he beat a Josh Taylor that hasn't been himself lately. You know what I mean? Considering Josh Taylor's career, he had a horrible performance against Jack Catterall, which a majority of people believe he lost that fight. You know what I mean? We can't disregard that. And he never bounced back from that performance since then because he did not look like himself when he faced Teofimo Lopez. He didn't look himself in these last two fights. You know what I mean? So a lot of people are really having like question marks next to Teofimo's, how can I say this? They're pretty much like questioning the validity of Teofimo's win at that point. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of people are questioning whether he beat the real Josh Taylor or not. You know what I mean? Obviously he beat Josh Taylor, but the version of him that was actually shining during the Super 6 tournament, the actual Josh Taylor that beat Jose Ramirez, that beat an undefeated Regis Prograis. You know what I mean? They're questioning whether that's the Josh Taylor that Teofimo beat. And I ain't gonna lie to you, that didn't look like the Josh Taylor that I knew. You know what I mean? The one that I seen coming up, that I actually did an interview and said that Teofimo needs a couple fights before he gets into a Josh Taylor fight, which he did. You know what I mean? He took a couple fights before the Josh Taylor bout. But a lot of people question that. You know what I mean? So there's some people that believe he genuinely is the number one guy because he beat the guy who never really lost them belts, but you know, it was a situation where he had to vacate titles or he was stripped and things of that nature. So they were still looking at him as the man Teofimo beat him. So cool. Now, I have a different perspective on this. You know what I mean? I feel like you're number one if you have a world title, period. Regardless of how many titles, how many guys hold titles in the division. And no, I'm not talking about regular titles. I'm not talking about silver titles, interim titles. I'm not talking about any of that. If you have a legit version of a world title in a weight division, you're part of the number one. You know what I mean? And that's why I believe unification fights are extremely important. You know what I mean? I think that unification fights should be mandatory at all times. I think that these sanctioning bodies need to really start getting together to make these unification fights happen. You know what I mean? Because the more unification fights, the more the sport will grow because it's continuously the best guys in the division facing each other. You know what I mean? Teofimo has one belt. Subriel Matias has one belt. Rolly Romero has one belt. Devin Haney has 1 belt. So as far as I'm concerned, all of them guys are the number 1 guys in the division because they're all world champions. Now, let's say Teofimo were to go on and fight Rolly Romero and then he beats Rolly. All right, cool. Now, he has 2 of the belts. You know what I mean? But there's still the other 2 guys that have their opinions about them being the best. So, of course, you have to go on a mission and take every belt that is on the table. If not, you can't be mad when people don't call you the number 1 best fighter in the world. If you're not going for undisputed, if you have not become undisputed, you cannot say you're the only number 1 guy in the division. My opinion is pretty much different. A lot of people could look at resumes and be like, all right, well, Subriel is a champion, but he didn't face the people that Teofimo fought. All right, cool. He wasn't allowed the same opportunities. He wasn't given the same opportunities at this point in his career that Teofimo has. You know what I mean? Teofimo stepped up in competition, got his attention way before Subriel came into before Subriel started getting recognized in the division. You know what I mean? They're in different type of situations, and Subriel time came a little bit later than Teofimo, so it's understandable. But at the same time, you cannot say you're the only number 1 guy in the division if you do not have all the belts. Josh Taylor at one time, he had every right to say that he was the number 1 dude in the division. Why? Because he had every single title that was in every major title that was in his weight class. You know what I mean? Devin Haney at one point in time could say that he was the number 1 dude in his division. Why? Because he had every single belt. Terrence Crawford, same situation. Alexander Usyk, same situation. Naoya Inoue, same situation. So to really answer this question, man, it's like, who's number 1 in the division? If you have a major title, you have a case for being number 1 in the division. I'm sorry. Rolly Romero has a case for being number 1 in the division. Why? Because he's a world champion. Now, it's a different discussion that when you want to speak about who is the weak link. Who is the weakest link? You know what I mean? We could rank the weakest links. You know what I mean? Who we believe, in our opinion, is the weakest champion in the division. Who's the weakest number 1 dude in the division? Okay, cool. You know what I mean? We could do that. Rolly Romero, I think he's the weakest link in the division, but nonetheless, he's still a world champion. He's still one of the number 1 guys in the 140-pound division, which is one of the most deepest divisions, one of the most competitive divisions in the whole sport of boxing. You know what I'm saying? So that's a difficult feat. You know what I mean? That's a difficult feat. So that's the thing I really want to get into, man. What do y'all think? Who is the number 1 guy in the division? Do you agree with my take? Do you disagree with my take? Y'all let me know, man. I personally believe if you have a world title, you have a case for being number 1, regardless of resume or anything like that, because you're a world champion. You know what I mean? With being a world champion, it comes with the recognition of being one of the best guys in the sport of boxing. I feel like if you don't capture every title, then you can't legitimately say, you cannot unanimously say that you're number 1 in the division, because there's going to be somebody else that comes around that has a solid case for disagreeing with you. But that's just my take on the whole situation, man. Y'all let me know what y'all think. This is Mazuma TV. Thank you for tuning in. I'll be on the live later on tonight to chop it up with the people. I'm out of here, man. Peace.